Hello there, Big Benedict here. We're playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black on the Series X, and this is my Master Ninja Difficulty Guide and Walkthrough. We're currently on Chapter 14 of 17. It is entitled A Tempered Gravestone, and I'm glad I upgraded my Tonfas to level 3 here, and I have to say one thing. I was absolutely shocked that they altered this fight, which, if you've ever played Sigma 2, there's nothing in this whole area. So this area went from having absolutely nothing to potentially hundreds of enemies in the vein of the original game on the 360. It's nowhere near as hard because you're not getting ISs spammed at you, but I read the patch notes, but I don't remember looking at videos and trying to see what the changes were. I read the patch notes and it said that they added some enemies on Chapter 11, but I didn't know where they added them. But they sure got the point with this, because this is a very fun fight, and it's fun because you actually fight. On Sigma 2, you traverse the area. There's nothing to it. The only thing that I don't like is the dogs at the end. I didn't care for that. But yeah, it's sure something, and I was very satisfied to see this, because it just really reminded me of the intensity of this chapter on Ninja Gaiden 2, the vanilla version of it. But when I say that it's not as hard, it's still pretty challenging. I had no healing items here. Remember in the last chapter on Elizabeth, I had to use every item on her, so I had nothing here except Nimpo, and it wasn't too bad actually, because you do have 4 uses of it if you've got one of the Spirit of the Devils. And yeah, I mentioned that I just don't care for the dogs at the end. See, some of the things they changed, like they really didn't have to do this, but they really got the point about this, and it's such a drastic change. I mean, if you're used to Ninja Gaiden 2, it's it's the same thing, but I mean, same type of thing, but it's not as hard, because that game is just ridiculous at this point in the game, with these undead ninjas spamming their projectiles at you. And as far as I know, the spawn points prior to the dogs are pretty much like very similar to Ninja Gaiden 2. So if you remember, where the enemies pop up at, they more or less pop up at the same point. But at the end, there are some dogs, and on Ninja Gaiden 2, there's no dogs. You would just have, were there dogs? No, not here. They don't put dogs here. But it's an absolute challenge to get to the save point on that game. And even though it's not as hard here, it's still fun. And it was good for me, because I was just surprised. And when I first played this game, when it came out, like the first day, there were no surprises to it. It's hard to surprise someone that's played a game so many times, but when you are reissuing it, you would expect that here and there would be some surprises for people that have played the game so many times. Something to put a smile on their face occasionally. But it's very samey. But after the patch, they did a good job of adding some challenge, because these games are all about challenge, and it draws people into it that like this kind of thing. And they did a good job. I mean, I was, like I said, I was very surprised, happily surprised. You should have seen my fucking face when I was just ignorantly going through this chapter, like from the very start of it, where they drop you off, expecting nothing, and then finding this, and it was so welcome. And I have to give them credit for actually, getting the point. It took a patch or two to do it, but they did get the point. And I hope they make more patches, with improvements and Ultimate Ninja and things like that. But yeah, this is it's an incredible amount of enemies. Like if you, I didn't like when I read the patch notes, I didn't really know where they put the enemies. And a really great thing too is on the Tengus, there's now a checkpoint. So formerly I would always just spam UTs because fighting the Tengus always meant running from the save statue to them. There are dogs in the way, but you would kill the dogs if you had any common sense. You would just kill the dogs, save it. But then there would always be that laborious run. I mean, I don't know if you would call it laborious, but it's still a run back, and it was draining and it was taxing, and it made you hate that enemy. But now that they have a checkpoint right on the Tengu Brothers, I don't think I did any UTs. I was able to study them, get their patterns down, see what they were all about without having to spam UTs, and just enjoy them for what they are, rather than resenting them for being something that I wasn't resenting them originally for what they were necessarily. It was because of the run back. And anytime you come across dogs in this game, you always hear them first, but hearing them doesn't mean that they spawn. You have to go a little bit further. So it's giving you a little indication that they're coming, but like if you start charging when you hear them, if you are going to charge, I was expecting an ambush right here from Ninja Gaiden 2, but there's not that ambush. There's just this ambush over here, more dogs. So this is, I don't know if you can save it before this, but like if you can run down there and save it before the dogs attack you, I'm pretty much sure you can't. But they're just pegging me here with shurikens, and I'm not sure how they exactly they can throw them without any arms. I've always wondered about that. If they patch this again, I would definitely tell them to remove these dogs. On the lower difficulties, I noticed, and on some of the challenges, they have those sheepish like wolf dogs, those dark brown dogs that look a lot better than these ones. These ones look really ugly to me. But there are some more dogs. We do have the Dragon Sword to level 4. For the dogs, I would actually use the scythe, and they do cut you off over here. Watch this. When I charge here, watch when I come back up here, they trap you. I don't remember them doing that. Maybe they added that. That I don't like. But yeah, so I would definitely save it. But now we can run back where we came from and fight the Tengus. So for the Tengus, I'm going to use the Enma's Fang because it has a really good amount of reach, and it has a good amount of damage output for its X parry. I never tested the Y parry. I think the Y parry leaves you too vulnerable, but you're going to notice an edit right there, and that's a checkpoint. Now, if you go too hog wild with attacks, you can get into the problem of not being able to recover in time before they grab you. So always, space yourself out from the other one as far as you can, because if you get too close, it's too hard to manipulate both of them. But see the parry damage there? It's really good. Usually, and I don't know why that pushes you over. And sometimes he drops a... see why I charged right there? Is because sometimes the first one you kill, he drops a... they drop blue essence, so I was thinking I'll charge off that. But it's such an enjoyable fight with that checkpoint. And, I think that's something that a lot of developers could learn from about not. There we go. See, I was almost grabbed there, but I knew he was going to do it. As much as I liked this part over here, though, with the new checkpoint, these guys do overstay their welcome. I think they appear too many times. There's Momiji, and then there's this, and then they're back in the chapter later, and then they're also in, I believe, Quickening Devastation. But just, the hard thing about this fight too is the camera. So you're gonna have to reset the camera quite a bit to compensate for the ineffectualness of the camera. And he's dead. And so, as much as I applauded Team Ninja's efforts at the beginning of the video, it's not going to carry through. Like the increase of enemies, it's not going to increase. Because if you know anything about Ninja Gaiden 2 in this chapter, there was it's a huge fight with many Resetsus, 3 at a time. I don't know how many there were in total, maybe 6 or something. But they were accompanied by legions of the undead IS Ninja, and that's not the case over here. That's one of the moves that this level 4 weapon has. I'm not sure what the name of it is. Something flying swallow. I'm not sure. I know the input though. It's X, hold Y, 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 Y. The other move that this weapon has is something called a steel cutter, which is 3 X's then Y, and then it has the gleaming blade UTs, which are 360. Hold Y, and they're just, one is more extreme because it's the UT, the ET is more subdued. So you can charge off this essence over here if you want to facilitate a charge, but I wish they had committed a little bit more to increased enemies, because as you're going to see in just a minute, all this fight is, I'm not minimizing it by saying that, because 2 Resetsus is difficult. And here I am just spamming UTs as well and throwing voids, because there's plenty of Ninpo essence in those targets to replenish what I'm doing. But I thought they would, I'm not going to use the word gumption, and not having enough of it, but I wish that they had committed to adding some more enemies here. The bridge fight we did, there weren't very many enemies. So I'm grateful, though. I'm very grateful that the first fight is what it is, though. That's definitely the surprise of the walkthrough for me personally. I like coming on things like that unaware, That's why I don't look online when new stuff comes out and patches come out and things. I just, that's why I didn't search for Ultimate Ninja and see if it was in this game. I just wanted to see for myself. So I went through Master Ninja myself, and obviously myself, but I went through it, and I wanted to. I was hoping it would be there, and I was hoping to be surprised at finding it there, but alas, it wasn't there, and it isn't there. It could be there, but it's just not. And I think you can go back and save it. I know the door over here is open as well. You can charge off essence. There's an ambush in this room over here. It was kind of funny. One of these guys got caught behind the ladder, and I was humorously trying to scythe UTs, kill him over here. But I don't think any of the UT actually got through the stuff that he's hiding behind, or not hiding behind, but struggling to find around. So yeah, I believe you can go back and save it now. And another disappointing aspect is this next fight, where in Ninja Gaiden 2 it's a huge ambush in the Hayabusa village coming up over here, and well, I'll let you see for yourself. There's Nympha back there, but there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing. So make sure that you save first and then go back. And, if you don't have max inventory of the grains, this is the grains right here, so it's 3,500 for us. If you are at full health and you have 2 grains, just you don't need to worry about manipulating it. Just grab the grains out of it. And then these are just traditional Sigma 2 fights. And I can't emphasize more about not just when you win path. I know the input says A, but you need to be pressing X plus A, because it's extremely more accurate. You don't even have to look and try to line up a target. It'll target it for you. That's why it's called an automatic targeting jump. And it's so helpful. It's really helpful. Okay. So the save that we were just at and the next save, they're spread further apart than they are in Ninja Gaiden 2. In the latter, after you did all this stuff going uphill, and then you got to the actual I'm not sure what you would call it, the Hayabusa village, or I don't know what it is, but it's the place from the other game. There was a save. Well, there was a save nearby where the lives of the 1,000 gods are, and the test of valor was in Ninja Gaiden 2. So I didn't find these fights any different than Sigma 2. I truly think they're the same. Maybe slightly different, but it would be interesting to have a bunch of enemies over here. And then you've got these crawlers. I love, and I've said this many times, but I think enemies, they should throw in here and there. Oh, and of course you also got triple flying swallow. That's not very helpful, but I think they should throw in more enemies that come delimbed, like when they spawn, because you know how enemies in this game, with the exception of the one that we just passed, and there might be another one too, enemies are always intact. They're you have to cut off a limb, cut off their legs or their arm. But it would be interesting in some fights if one guy every now and then came delimbed. I think that would be interesting to see and play around with. Why exactly? Well, you could expedite a charge by quickly OTing him and things, and it makes sense. I think that's everybody's getting cut up in this game, and everybody's getting butchered. To have people here and there not intact. So the reason the flying swallow, the 3x flying swallow, is not very good is because the enemies block the hell out of that, and it leaves you really vulnerable too. So as interesting as it is to use as a move, look how many times I have to fly swallow this guy. 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. And bear in mind, he was already cut in half. He came cut in half. And it took 9 or 10 flying swallows to kill him. Wow. It would take 2 Azuna drops too, I bet. What is the point of them having so much resilience with regard to having high-level weapons? It's strange. Really, really strange. So I believe this box could also give you 1,000. So fortunately, we were able to charge off those fish. And here's the final. You're going to be getting your final items on this chapter. There's the Lives of the 1,000 Gods. There's also a Spirit of the Devils coming up. It's the second one of those, second of 2. And then before the third Genshin boss fight, there's your final Life of the Gods too. Oh, this was an accident right here using the Nimpo. I just did this and I accidentally cast Nimpo there for some reason. Okay, so let's come in here. These fights aren't particularly difficult because normally you would have a bunch of enemies here, but here's the Spirit of the Devils. When you go into these rooms, enemies are going to drop on you. Well, I think it's just one room on this version. And also going in for that aerial Azuna drop. I said it before, but you want to press X plus A and then X, Y in the air to more accurately do that move. I think that's the final ambush. There's a grains here. Pick that up. And then I'm going to probably try to... I did the wind run into the flying swallow. Or the wind run into the... I did the wind run into the flying swallow, but it didn't target the mage. So that's happened a couple of times. I'm not sure why. Maybe he spawns in a little bit slower than these guys and it doesn't recognize. Interesting. But you can do this either of 2 ways. I like to save it first because we haven't saved for a long time, and then we'll be getting another item and more ambushes. I guess I take the long way over here too as well. So when you get down here, just remember that there's 2 archers that are kind of bastardly, and if you have close to your Life of the Gods, there's only 2 left, so you'll get another upgrade. I do wish that you could use them when you want to, not have them automatically applied. But it's not too bad. These ones over here, and when I say I took a shortcut, you don't have to cross that cable at first. You can jump down one of these shafts over here, but then what would happen is I wouldn't be able to show you all the fights. So there's one over here with these guys. The blood effects are really good in this game. It's like way over the top, but extremely welcome. It has such a nice look to it. Okay, that is the Life of the Gods. There's one more near the end of the chapter. I took a look back right there because on Ninja Gaiden 2 there's an ambush over there. Okay, so save it, and then we'll do this part. If you want to, you can just run to the end where Muramasa intervenes, and you do get an extra healing item that I would recommend that you don't use until absolutely necessary. Where that place is, it's just going to depend on where you personally need it. But I have a place that I like to use it. I like to use it on the Chapter 17 bosses, not the 3 at the end, but the Genshin and Elizabeth fight. Those fights are the least enjoyable fights for me personally. And here we have some more lag. So I've tried the entire project to fix that. I have no clue. I'm at my wit's end, and I don't know what the problem is. It's yeah, it really bothers me. But see, when I capture the file, it's not corrupted at first. But when I watch it in the preview window and to commentate over, there's visual stuttering in the actual preview window, which somehow corrupts the file. I have no clue, but these are some hard fights down here. These enemies are so aggressive, and I think they have toned down the grab damage because that explosion that just happened a second ago. If it was on Sigma 2, I would have probably been dead. But I do think that they have reduced some of that damage, which is welcome. I can't tell you how aggressive these enemies are. They're so on you all the time. And it's I think it's the combination of adding those mages. This is another fight that is mandatory. So I'm gonna come back here because sometimes I could catch this mage when he comes back here and I could fly swallow his drop. Unfortunately, it takes just one with the level 3 Falcon's Talons. But I am going to try to go after these ones because they are what they do is if you see, they'll go under the ground and track you, and you can get locked into a grab, and their grabs are extremely dangerous. Not sure how I didn't get hit right there. Must have had iframes from the UT. Yeah, see how they'll jump out of the ground and grab you. But just a positive note here, because on Sigma 2, I think they added these checkpoints with the Tengus recently with with this game, because on the original Ninja Gaiden 2 and on Sigma 2, actually it's just one, right? It's just one Tengu coming up right before Genshin, and I think that this is the first time that you're ever given a checkpoint with this version of the game, and it's a really nice courtesy because you're asked to do an incredible amount of difficult fights. I mean, they're not Ninja Gaiden 2 fights, but you're still dealing with very aggressive enemies. And I think no, this is not the field. There's nothing in this field except a collectible. So this should be the last guy, and If they do give you a checkpoint on Sigma 2, I apologize. I just don't ever remember those types of courtesies. But now I'm wondering why on Momiji's chapter they don't give you a checkpoint before the Tengu fight. When you just fight one of them. It's kind of odd. But this field has a lot of items in it. I could recount all the items if you want to. There's one box with oh man, see that grab damage? It's a little less than Sigma 2, and I think in this version, or maybe it was post patch, that they've reduced some of that grab damage. I'm not sure, But that is, the current day and age Master Ninja difficulty grab damage. And again, these I cannot do anything about those. It's kind of sad actually, and I'm at a loss to understand it, because it just really ruins the whole guide, and they're so random. I've got my specs for my PC and everything. It's way overkill. It's overkill beyond anything that could possibly have have a desire to need more memory or anything like that. It's absolutely absurd. But in this field, you've got one box with it's a static chest with a blue essence, and you've got 3 corpses on the ground. One of them has the life of the gods, the final life of the gods, 18 of 18, and then there's also 2 chests that have. I'm sorry. There's 2 other corpses that have devil way mushrooms. And then there's also, sorry, at the end. This is despicable. It truly is. Because I'm watching this back in preview mode, and I've always been able to watch them in best quality. So there's the chest. But when you leave, there's a chest that has a grains as well. I'm sorry if you are interested in seeing the Kasari Gama. I'm just not someone that uses that weapon. Here's the nice checkpoint that they put in. And if that sounds sarcastic, I didn't mean it, but it's really, really nice to have this checkpoint here. Such a relief after those fights. So I used the Inferno on the 3 ninjas that come with him. There's just 3 of them. And I think I'm just going to use this, and just remember, using too many attacks on him, what could happen is you'll be hitting, and then you won't be able to even shuriken cancel out of his grab. So this is a great weapon with a lot of strength, a lot of reach, and great parry damage. But these guys are so block happy that you just want to do a minimal amount of attacks, and that first attack is parryable. And if you want to, you can scythe UTs do a hell of a lot of damage to them too. And the Inferno does, they have a lot of weaknesses to them. And what you might want to equip for Genshin, I think I mix it up with the Lunar and the Falcon's Talons. The Lunar for trying to get Azuna drops. I found that I was only ever able to do 1 Azuna drop on him during about 5 confrontations. And I think they just put some resistance. They've given him some resistance against the Azuna drop, but you still can't do it. In fact, the last blow that I do to him is an Azuna drop. Okay, there's the final life of the gods. So there are no more upgrades as far as Spirit of the Devils, Lives of the Thousand Gods, or Life of the Gods. And then we've already picked up from one of the corpses a Devil Way Mushroom. Here's the other corpse that has another Devil Way Mushroom. Oh, they're called Devil's Way Mushroom? Okay. Sorry about that. And since we have max grains and max health, this is going to give us 3,500. And then we're going to do this fight. I also use the Falcon's Talons for forward Y. Does some pretty good damage. He does a double dash that he can transition into his version of the Underworld drop. And that's a devastating move. It doesn't take all your health off if you have max health like we do. But you'll be at the cusp of death. See, I'm trying to get in these Azuna drops, and I think they've reduced his when you're in the air, the way he used to cut you down all the time, because as you can see, I can freely dodge more often than I would be able to ordinarily. But it's it's not exactly a carbon copy of the first two fights because he does have a couple of new moves. That underworld drop one for particular, and then that double dash and some resistance to the Uzuna drop. So I'm gonna switch to I'm just trying to see what forward Y can yield for me. Let's see what it does. Let's see if it must have been good enough. He has a problem connecting with the boss though. You know, sometimes you miss a lot. Doesn't seem to do that much damage, but maybe I'm not connecting fully. Yeah, it doesn't seem to do too much damage, but I was just trying to see if I could do more than one attack sometimes. Yeah, that's going to take too long, so I decided to switch back to the Lunar. And it's kind of surprising, he even lets you do UTs on him too. I mean, not all the time, but that double dash, you need to get out of the way of that for sure. He has a single dash too, which is not what he uses before the underworld drop. It's the double dash. And of course, he indiscriminately throws the void at you too, as he usually does. Yeah, these Uzuna drops are just not connecting. But finally, at the end, I got one in. So that was kind of rewarding to be able to have that happen after so many failed attempts. But that has been chapter 14. I'm very much apologetic, folks, for the stuttering in the video. I can't account for it, and that's too bad. So I have no words about it because it's just inexplicable to me. I have no clue. But I will see you in the 15th chapter, and until then, please take care.